So now we're going to draft our front and back skirt slopers. And I'm just going to be shifting this paper around a little bit to make sure you guys get both angles. So first we're going to start off with our front sloper to our skirt. And I'm going to do the full length. And this is a little bit below the knee. I'm going to shorten and alter it for our actual pattern. But I just wanted to make sure you guys got the full length. So I'm going to use my longer tape measure so that I don't have to keep making too many adjustments. So I'm going to mark from 26 up into the very top of the tape measure. And then I'm going to use those guiding lines to create my center front line. And the front and back sloper, they're often patterned together. So you're gonna see me sort of shifting my paper a lot just to make sure you guys get the full view. So that was just the center front. And I'm actually gonna mark that now so we don't get confused. Like I said, the front and back slopers go on the same paper. But I don't want you guys to get confused as I'm shifting back and forth. So now I'm gonna just move my paper over so you guys can see the the back sloper. And I'm gonna do the same thing in regards to the length. I'm gonna measure down 26. And I'm gonna mark. And then I'm going to mark to the top. And then I'm going to use my ruler to create those lines. So this is going to be our center back. Okay, now we're going to move a little further up the pattern to the top portion. And we're going to be creating those box lines that we use. So to have the distance between the two, I'm going to say, and this is a size 8, so it was from about, let's use this. So that was 26 down. So we're gonna open this up 24 across. So from point D, I should say, because this is line D. This is line H. This is line F. And this is line J. Okay, let's go back to the top of the skirt. And that measures 24 across. I'm just going to make a line from point D to point H. Okay. And the reason why this is further apart, normally if you look at the sloper in the notes tab, the example that I have in there, they're closer together. So the width between point D and H wouldn't be as far away, but because I'm going to alter these patterns because they're going to have a bit of a swoop in the hip area to accommodate our design, I spaced them out a bit. But normally when you're drafting these together, they're virtually side by side. But I just have a space here because I am going to use that hip area and curve it just a bit. So you go in and you just make a straight line right down the middle. And like I said, normally these lines would kiss, but because I'm going to alter this pattern at the hip area, I can't allow that because I'm not going to be able to do the things that I want to do. And this is going to be line A. This line here that goes straight down is going to be line A. I'm also going to connect points J. You can see there. I'm going to connect points J to point F. Okay, and this bottom line here is going to be B. So we got A to B, F to J, D to H. Now for line E, which is going to be this line going across, is going to be our hip line. I'm going to come down from point D about 9.5 inches. So from point D, and this is my center back, from point D, I'm going to come down about 9.5 inches and then just leave a mark there. I'm going to go to my front sloper and I'm going to go down from point H, and it should also measure about 9.5. Oh, there it is. So it's coming in a little bit at 9 5/8. Let's see why that's happening. Let's go here. We've got 9. Oh, because it is 9 5/8 here. Yep. So it's 9 5/8 on both sides. So once I have those lines, so again here I come down 9 5/8. So you're coming down from point D. And you're creating that hip line, which is going to be both point E, C, and I. So this right here is our hip line. Okay, and I hope you find the fact that I lightly trace this out helpful so you can sort of begin to see what this is looking like and that it doesn't just look like a weird box that you can't figure out like where is this going. So this is going to be my hip line. We got a different marking tool for the hip line. Okay, so this is going to be the hip line. So we're going to mark that hip so we know what we're looking at. And this is going to be C, I, and E. So far, this is the shape that we have going on, and I just have a smaller version for you guys to sort of see what this is looking like. Because this is the full scale, and it's just a half scale for you guys to sort of see what this is supposed to look like. We have points D, A, H, E to I is the hip line, with the C being the vertical line, F, point B, point J, and then I just mark center front, center back, and I'm going to mark the side seam, but because this is the way it's supposed to look with these seams together, but because again I'm altering this a little bit, I decided to not have them kiss as the way they do here. So I'm just going to mark side seam here so that we know. So that's going to be our first figure. This is mainly where we have to create our darts and those kinds of things. Okay, So I'm going to use my blue color pencil and have handy both my curve ruler, my French curve, and my grid ruler. Okay. So we're going to label this the back of the skirt, because again, that may get confusing as we go on. This is going to be the front of the skirt. So now we're going to start creating our darts. So I'm going to go first with the back dart. So the back dart of the skirt is always going to be a little bit longer. And for the back dart, I'm going to come in just wanted to make sure I put down. We have this guideline that actually comes out that I didn't input, and that's going to be G. So don't forget to add that. We come down about a ½ inch from D, and we make that guideline for G. Okay. So for our first dart, we're going to move from D, and we're going to create our K. This is going to be where that hip curve is going to be, where that hip ruler actually is going to come into play. So that is going to measure, we've got 9 and about 5/8. So I'm going to come up 9 and 5/8, and I'm just going to make a mark here, and I'm going to label that K. I'm also going to create a guideline for K, and that usually is about 2 inches, those guidelines. I'm just going to create that guideline here. I'm actually going to do the same thing for this side. So I'm going to take my ruler. I'm going to go to that point H, and I'm going to come in about 9 inches. I'm going to mark it, and then we're going to call that M. So 9 inches from H. And then we're going to do that about 2-inch guideline. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our back sloper. And again, we're just focusing on the top, so you should just see the hip area and above, because they're just focusing on the top right now. So to create my first dart, I'm going to go from point D, and I'm going to go in about 3 and 5/8. And that's going to be L. I'm going to mark 1 inch in from this point. So from the point that I made, so from D to this point is 3 and 5/8. And just in case you need to see, again, using this small half scale, we're creating our darts for here. So the darts are usually 2 darts, so they fall in between the princess seam in the back, and the same thing with the front. So they fall right in between the princess seam. So whereas here, they're right on, here they fall right in between. So next, I'm gonna move over 1 inch. And they can match up exactly. So it really depends on how you're doing your design, how you're cutting your pattern, because you can also have just one front dart and it can match exactly with the front of the bodice and the back of the bodice. But it really depends on how you're designing your garment. So next, we're gonna move over 1 inch, and I'm gonna mark that. Then I'm gonna give it a little over 1 inch. So we're talking about 1.25 inches. And then again, 1 inch. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Videos are uploaded weekly covering dressmaking, fashion, lectures, and more.